All right, everyone. So welcome to our ECE Week of the Young Child webinar series. We are happy to have you here. It's a different day and time than we usually do, which is always great to shake things up a little bit. And this, of course, is Week of the Young Child. I think we are in our 51st or 52nd with COVID. I've lost all track of time. Week of the Young Child, which is really exciting. And I can't believe that they have been doing this for 50 years. It's just unreal to me. But we're really glad that you're here to celebrate with us, and hopefully you're having a great week, doing great activities with the kiddos that are in your care. We definitely all appreciate the work that you do every day for them. So my name is Mary Moose, and I am the Department Chair for Early Childhood Education and Human Services at Rasmussen University. I am here to welcome you today, do a couple of quick introduction slides, and then turn you over to our amazing speaker for the evening. So let's just jump right in and waste no time. I have to do the shameless plug. I say it every time, but it's true. Our early childhood education degrees at Rasmussen University are designed to support you as a working early childhood educator. So we do have a certificate, we have a diploma, we have an associate degree and a bachelor completer degree for those of you needing to finish a bachelor's degree. You can find all of our information about all of our degrees online on our website, where you can find out about how long they take, how much they cost, what courses you would take, and outcomes that we hope you achieve. And then also you'll find information about our brand new tuition reductions. So in light of all that's going on in early childhood education right now, in response to the COVID crisis we've been dealing with for 2+ years, the need for early childhood educators that are qualified has never been greater. And so we wanted to respond to that by helping our early childhood workforce become qualified as fast as possible, of course, but really at a cost that's much more affordable than a typical associate degree would be. So you can earn an associate's degree for under $15,000, and that's without any other things, like without transfer credits, without a CDA credential waiver if you have a current CDA, without doing some self-directed assessments to test out virtually of your general education courses. There's all kinds of options, and so we encourage you to take a peek at those options online. It does include our certificate and our diploma as well, so depending on what you need, we likely have a degree that can support that. So again, take a peek on our website where you'll find all the information and a place to contact one of our admissions advisors who can talk you through all the details. We also have information sessions. We do these information sessions once a month. And you can register to attend an information session by going to our website too. And that information session is about 30 minutes long, gives you a great oversight into our program and a chance to ask questions. Usually they're small groups, but we hope we get bigger groups, of course, but the small groups are kind of nice because we can tailor it to what you're looking for. And we can really make sure that your questions get answered and you get set on the right path for you. Whoops, went a little fast there. Navigating the WebEx room, you might be a veteran with our WebEx rooms, you might be brand new. So we want to make sure you know that you have been muted to avoid background noise. Hopefully you're at home in a comfy space, and we want to make sure that that background noise does not disturb you listening to the webinar. We do recommend you using your computer speakers and microphone just because cell phones, of course, use your minutes depending on your plan, but you can switch between the two. So if your cell phone reception isn't going well or your computer reception isn't going well, you can flip back and forth in the WebEx room itself without having to leave. But if you do have to leave, like you're having just a real heck of a time hearing or staying on target or things are delayed, please go ahead and log out and log back in. You aren't going to get penalized for that. You can still get back in. Sometimes it takes a reboot to make sure that things are working properly. And you can ask questions, add comments, chat with each other in the chat box, chat with the instructor or our presenter this evening, all by going to the bottom right of your screen to the chat box, where you'll see a place that you can type in your message. And you can also dictate who it gets sent to. The Send To drop down, just make sure it says all participants. Otherwise, it'll just go to me. And likely you're probably making a comment or answering a question or giving examples and you want everyone to see them, especially our facilitator presenter. So please make sure that you have all presenters or all participants listed so that everyone gets to see your comments. The topic of the hour is, of course, the in-service hour, and you do get a participation certificate for that in-service hour for being here. It will get sent to your email that you registered for the session with. Sometimes those emails do get sent to spam or junk mail, or to that alternate email that sometimes is in your Outlook, where you have a primary email and a secondary email. So take a peek through all those if you don't see it in your regular email. It is not an attachment. It is a link within the email that will get you to your certificate. And typically, we get those to you within 48 hours, business hours, I say, of the session. We did have some glitches this week with the session from Saturday, and so the email with the certificate has not yet gone out for that session. Hopefully, by end of day tomorrow, they will have figured that out, and it will get out to all of those from Saturday. Thus, this one might be a little delayed too. It may not be. Depends on the glitch. So note that it may not get to you within 48 business hours. I usually say for our Thursday night sessions, it'll get to you by Monday. We hope this one will get to you by the end of the day on Friday, but give us a few extra days just in case this time. And then, without further ado, I want to welcome our facilitator for the night, Dr. Teresa McKay, and I'm going to go ahead and unmute her and give her control. Teresa is an adjunct faculty with us here at Rasmussen University, amongst many other things. She's a very busy lady, and we're really thankful that she came to us, or decided, or I guess thought about, or responded to my request to present a session today. And it's a topic I know that she is really passionate about. So let me give you
the power.
You have the control, Dr. McKay.
All righty. Now let me see if I can work my own computer. Right? Oh, wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Hang on.
Technology, right?
Oh, my stars. You know it's bad when the people in the Verizon store say, we're having technology problems today.
Yeah.
Okay, is it file, Mary? No, it's not file. So
it would be file. It would be to share your PowerPoint, but you can also just share your screen.
That's what I need to do. I need to share my screen. If anybody
or
needs.
Desktop or whatever they call it.
Yeah, it's different in here than it is in.
Magda, that's wonderful to hear. I'm sure she'll want to hear that too. Magda said that she had you before as an instructor and you were great.
Oh, yes, I do. I remember her. It's so nice to have repeaters. All right, Mary, can you see the screen?
I can see the screen.
Wonderful. Hopefully everybody else can too. So the picture that you showed, though, wasn't a very playful Dr. McKay. And so, yeah, I told my husband, I said, yeah, I really need new headshots. So, dude, you need to set me up. So I took one of myself, so I'm going to share that.
There you go.
Because I am a lifelong joyful learner and a teacher, and I am a very passionate early childhood advocate. Been in the field for 42 years. Every time I say this, it's like, where in the heck did the time go? And so much has changed in those 4 decades, but then some things haven't changed, right? Like kids. I've done higher ed since 2002, and yeah, I'm going to toot my own horn just a little bit by saying that, yep, just became a proud author at the end of 2021. So, yay. I have officially marked everything off of my bucket list. Now, Mary, I cannot see the chat, so I'm going to count on you to handle that.
I have the chat under control.
You are amazing. So I want everybody to center themselves and get themselves in kind of a joyful mood. Now, down here in Florida, I'm in Florida, our FLAC affiliate, we had happy hour last night. And so we were sharing and imbibing just a little bit, and having just a nice time hanging out and getting to know each other as part of our celebration for Week of the Young Child. So center yourselves and kind of think of something joyful right now. What brings you joy? And that was one of the conversations that we had last night. Like, let's not talk about the W word, which is work. And let's talk about things that we do. What is your guilty pleasure? What are things that bring you joy? And so just take a moment, close your eyes, and think about the most joyful thing that brings you joy, and write it into the chat box. Okay, good. Laughter, joking, painting. I do see them sometimes as they pop up. Great.
You might be able to see them too. I know if I go up to the top of my screen, I have the drop down that drops down. And then I think that's where I pulled up the chat. If you click on it.
Very good.
What it does do is it does bring up a box, like a.
Yep, just like it does in.
Yep. But then we see it as a
gray box.
Checkered, a gray, well, it's yellowed on my screen. Okay. Box.
Oh, My Two Sons, a good movie. Vacation, always, right? Movies. Motorcycle riding. Ooh, that kind of falls into the risky play joy. Okay, so we all have these things that bring us joy. Now I want you to close your eyes again. Nobody can see you if you don't close your eyes, but it's just better just to humor me. And think back to your childhood and what brought you joy in your childhood. Now, if you're like me, your childhood may not have been super duper wonderful all the time, but are there things that you can think back to that brought you joy? And share those. Playing outside, camping, chalk, Barbies. Yes. Oh, yes. All of these are so good. Yep, Disney. Disney is my adult child. Playful adventure now. Outside with cousins. I'm so glad somebody said that, because when I was looking through pictures, I was like, all of my really good memories were with my cousins. As a matter of fact, my cousins just came down for a trip to Disney, and we got to meet them at Disney Springs. It was so nice. Okay, so I'm just going to share a couple things with you. Atari. You're dating yourself a little, but I've been there. Having a bike, yes. Riding bikes was one of my favorites too, although I couldn't find a picture. So I kind of dug into my archive, and I just want to share with you guys just a few things. This is yours truly, doing some of the things, and I don't know if you can tell, but what do these pictures bring to your mind about my childhood? You don't really know me that well unless you've had me in class. But what do some of these pictures tell you about my childhood? I accidentally cut my mama's head off in the bottom picture. Didn't mean to do that. Don't anybody tell her. Oh, absolutely. Outside. Yes, I spent most of my time on a farm. We actually lived in cities, but my grandparents owned a farm, and so I spent all of my summers on the farm with my grandparents. So, and there's also another recurring theme in these pictures. I don't know if you can see it or not, but hopefully you can. I have a passion for puppies, absolutely. I've always had a dog, and of course, the animals on the farm were also my pets. We had pigs, we had chickens, we had cows. It was very realistic about knowing what the cows and the pigs and the chickens were for, but you know, like I gave the cows names like Hamburger. We had a black cow that had a white spot in the middle of his forehead, and I named him Bullet. So I was very, very aware of what those things were for. But while we were caring for them, you know, I got to do things like help deliver a baby calf. You know, I got to gather eggs. I got to know what it was like in nature and to do these farming things. The top picture is me picking cherries in our cherry tree. What you don't see here is that at that very moment that picture was taken, my cousin, who was with me at the time, spotted a snake going up the tree, and I proceeded to scream and fall off of the ladder because I do not like snakes. But these are some of the memories that I could pour out and really represented me and growing up on the farm. So, you know, even snow and all of those things, it was just really a good time. I mean, how many times do you see pumps in today's, you know, for wells and stuff in today's society? And today when you ask children, where do eggs come from? They say Walmart, right? So I really knew, you know, the whole process of you know, field to table, that kind of thing. So yes, my radio flyer, absolutely. And it was things that we did together as a family. And very, very important time in my life. So think about these happy thoughts, right? These were things that brought me joy. And I mean, I was an only child. So when my cousins weren't around, I kind of had to fend for myself. Now, I'm a huge musicals person. I love musicals, and I've loved them ever since I can remember. And so often you would see me using the farm equipment to reenact the musicals that I watched as a kid. We had a bright yellow loader for the cows, ramp to walk up for the cows when we loaded them onto trucks. And that was the stage for many a musical. So these are the things that brought me joy then, but they also bring me joy now. And so, you know, these are important things to hold on to because we are talking about joyful learning. And when McKay brought out the new DAP, basically their foundation is that DAP is here to create joyful learning and teaching experiences for children, okay? So when you think DAP, think of joyful learning. When you think of joyful learning and teaching, think of DAP. So you really can't have one without the other, kind of like Sonny and Cher, unless you're not that old, and maybe it's Tim and Faith, so, or macaroni and cheese. So they go together, right? So an hour is really not nearly long enough to really pack in everything I wanted to. We're just going to hit some highlights tonight. I really wanted to give you as much of a hands-on tour of some things that will take a little bit later, but I'm going to set the stage for that. So from DAP, what does it mean when we read through this statement? What does it mean when we say joyful learning? Well, it means that we are using methods that provide optimal development and learning through strengths-based, not weaknesses-based, play-based approaches, which then lead to joyful, engaged learning. That's the goal. The DAP statement also tells us, if I can get my computer to work, that we know, research has told us that children are born eager to learn, right? The brain is pre-wired for this. They take, look at these words, you guys, they take delight in exploring their world and making connections. I had delight in all of those pictures. Anytime I was outside doing those things, it was delightful. And that's why it's such a good memory for me, right? And then it's our job to make sure that our programs are supporting those children, the children that we deal with, their delight and wonder in learning, right? So taking those things that I had you think about earlier, those things that bring you joy now, things that brought you joy as a child, how do we incorporate that into our curriculum, our classroom, our environment, all of those things? But look at this, you guys. When we engage in DAP, we are fostering children's joyful learning. If we're doing things the way that we're supposed to be doing them, then that joyful learning is going to come out. It's not something that we have to look up in a book. It is not something that we need to do the research on. The research has already been done for us. And when we do this, we maximize their opportunity to achieve their full potential. I count credit to having a family that did provide those experiences for me, because there was no such thing in preschool. When I was a kid, I went straight to kindergarten, right? So, but still, even when I wasn't in school, there was delight and there was wonder, especially when I was on the farm. That was my happy place. I was just talking to one of my cousins the other day, and he had posted a picture of the farm, what it looks like now, and it just broke my heart because it's run down and it's just sad. But when I see those pictures, I still remember those happy times. And he and I were talking about that, just the things. And he was talking about going out into the garden and picking the strawberries and eating them, and all of those things that we did as children. So what does this mean to us? If I can get this to work, I'm having computer problems. What is joyful learning? If we were to describe that, what one word would you use to describe joyful learning? And I hope everybody gets this right. Type it in the chat box. Laughter is good, fun is good. Not what I'm going for though. Play! Tammy wins. Woohoo! I have no prizes, but she wins. She was the first one to type it in. It is play. It's all of these other things as well, but when somebody asks you, like if somebody reads DAP and they say, well, what does it mean by joyful learning? It means play, child-led play, hands-on play, engaging play. Yes, all of these things. Thank you. Wonderful. So you guys are here. So I'm going to challenge you then after this session to go out and shout it from the mountaintops, because this is my passion for this year. You know how everybody chooses a word for the year, like peace and joy and love and all that, and that's their word that they focus on for the year? My word for this year is play. I just turned 60 years old, you guys, and I am like, my mom's like, I hated turning 60, and my friends like, I hated turning 60, and I'm like, you know what? I got a lot of play left to go, you guys. I still, like my mom's like, why do you go to Disney all the time? Because I love to play. I am still a player. I go out in public, you guys, and I am the person who goes to the store and I touch everything, even in COVID. So yes, I carried my sanitizer around, but I like to be in that environment, in the play. Even things that aren't really designed for adults, I like to do those. I did a conference one year and I brought Insta-Snow, and I made little tubs of Insta-Snow and we passed them around, and every single adult in that room was like, can we keep this? Like they wouldn't take their hands out, they wouldn't pass it on to the next person, because we remember when we put our hands in something, remember 5 senses? We put our hands in things that bring back those memories, or we hear a song. For Music Monday, I shared with my daytime gig folks that there was a song that I learned in the 3rd grade called Don Gato, and that is the cat, and it's a crazy little tune. But when I hear that song, and you can actually look it up on YouTube, When I hear that song today, I can still see my third grade music teacher. I can see his hair, his mustache, his brown suit that he always wore, the piano that he played, the classroom we were in, and the orange music book that held that song. I remember all of that. And I would sing that song every night before, like my parents would tell me to stop singing it because I sang it so much. But that song is still around. So when I hear it, it is a memory connection for me. And what kind of memory connection? It brought me joy. And that is the most important thing. We could do a whole session on how joy is connected in the brain, what centers of the brain store joy. You guys have probably seen all that. If not, their information is on the internet, right? You can get anything on the internet, but you can't get joy on the internet, okay? You might find things that might stimulate joy, but you can't purchase it, right? So when we connect those things for children, we teach them these new novel things and really get into it with them, then that is a memory that they are going to now lay down. And when they think back to their childhood, then they will remember some of those things that we did with them. And we have to ask, tell ourselves that things are different now, right? Not every child has the opportunity to see what it's like on a farm. Not every child has the opportunities that we did to freely ride our bicycles in the neighborhood and not worry about safety issues and things like that. So, questions that I want you to really concentrate on. If you feel like answering them in the chat box, go ahead and do so. But these are going to kind of be our guiding questions as we go through some of this material. So I kind of had you do this at the beginning, and you talked about some of the things that you did, playing outside, riding horses, riding your bike, that kind of thing. Now, think about where did you play? Okay, so where were some of the places that you went to play outside of school? I think somebody did mention earlier outside at your cousin's. Yeah, like we all lived on farms. So it was really just kind of moving from one farm to another. Okay, at your friend's house. Yes. When we lived in a subdivision, we played right out in the street. We actually lived in a new subdivision one time, and they were still building houses around us, and they were digging basements, and of course they piled the dirt in a big hill behind the house. And I remember one summer day we went out there and we were sliding down the hill on cardboard, right, on this dirt hill. Super risky play because literally we probably could have just slid right down into the basement. Thankfully we didn't. But then our cardboard wore out, right? So did that stop us? Absolutely not. We just started sliding down on our bottoms. And by the time I got home that night, I had a hole in my britches, and my mom was so mad at me, and she's like, what did you do? I was like, dude, we were just, I didn't say dude at that point in time, but I was like, we were sliding down the hill, and it was wonderful. I mean, we just literally just went back up to the top, slid back down, went back up to the top, slid back down, and we did that until sunset, because you know what happens at sunset when you were my age, that meant it was time to go home. When the street lights came on, it was time to go home, right? I'm seeing so many great answers come through here. So wonderful. So see, those memories are embedded in there, right? Now, who was with you? And some of you have already answered this. For me, it was my cousins, your siblings, friends, people in the neighborhood. So the next question then, I think it's the next one. Okay, yes, the next one. Where were the adults? At home, in the house. Yes. We kind of just did our own thing, right? They certainly didn't come outside and slide down that hill with me. They thought that was the most ridiculous thing ever. Now, they went sledding with me and some things, and we played some things like badminton and stuff like that. But, yeah, you know, the dinner bell rang or what have you. We knew it was time to come home. So the adults really weren't there. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about, today is Work Together Wednesday, right? The importance of the adults, though, being part of that play experience now. Yeah, they were working. So sometimes I had to stop playing and go work too, depending on what was going on. But there were no adult interferences. Like nobody was hollering out the window and telling us to stop doing it. Don't play like that. Nobody gave us parameters, right? So that's really important. Now here's a really good question. You can answer it, you don't have to. Did you ever eat paste or glue sticks? Or back in the day, as old as I am, we had rubber cement, which I loved the smell of rubber cement. I didn't need it, but, or, you know, anything else that you weren't supposed to, Play-Doh or toothpaste or, you know, all those things we're not supposed to eat. So why did we, for those of us who did it, why did we do it? Paper, yes, that was kind of popular for a while back in the 70s. Michelle, that may explain some things. That's funny. We were curious, absolutely. And so just because, right. And that is the impetus to joyful learning, right? Now, were we joyful if it tasted bad? No, but at least we knew and we moved on to the next best thing, right? Well, if the paste doesn't taste good, maybe the paint does. You know, just because we were curious. Do you remember the feeling of squishing Play-Doh, or more importantly, I think, making a mud pie? Anybody? That feeling of stirring that dirt and that water together and putting your hands in it and squishing it through your fingers. Yeah, that is joyful learning, because not only were we making mud pies, we were doing standards, just nobody knew it, right? We were meeting standards. We were doing sensory activities. We were doing science. We were doing math. You know, all of those things were in there. I love, if you do like a Google search of images, there are now 1,000,001 ways to build mud kitchens in your playground area. Love that. Yes. Oh, Susan, you are my girl. Yep. And then when they were dry, they became great Frisbees. I love it. Warm cow pies. That's great. I love it, love it, love it. Somebody feels me. Hallelujah. Barefoot was great. You know, a lot of people, but you know, Mary, when you grew up on a farm, it was natural. It was just normal. And yes, I was always barefoot. I can walk on rocks like nobody's business. Doesn't bother me at all. I'm very tough-footed. I'm not tender-footed at all, because I spent most of my life without shoes, and I'm still pretty much that way. Some people say the first thing they take off, I hope there's no guys in this session, when they get home is their bra, me it's shoes. So I like to have my feet free. As a matter of fact, my feet are not ever under covers in the bed either. So great. So these memories are so important. But again, concentrate now and think, and to keep this in the back of your mind as we go through. What activities bring you pure joy today? And I'm talking about the footloose, fancy-free, uninhibited freedom of joy. So just kind of sit tight with that. Keep thinking about it, okay? We're going to revisit it. So let's just take a quick dive through theory, okay? Because here's the thing. People are like, oh, play-based curriculum is the new best thing. No, it's not new, you guys. It's been around since the beginning of theory. They've said it over and over and over again. And so my passion for this right now is then why the heck are we not doing it in our programs, in our schools, anywhere? Why have we taken this out? So John Locke, Children should not be hindered from being children, but what do? We expect them to be little adults, right? Stand in a straight line. Everybody line up in a choo-choo train. Don't hit, don't touch, don't blah, blah. They're kids. That's what they do. They should play, not work. Play is their work, right? I still can't get this to work right. Rousseau, children learn from the environment and through their own natural curiosity. And that's what we talked about when we talked about eating paste, right? Or stepping in those cow patties. I wonder what it feels like to step in a cow patty. Well, we found out. And you know what? It was the coolest thing ever because it was warm and it was squishing up between the toes. And at that point in time, we had no inhibitions about it being poop, right? We just didn't. Pestalozzi, children should learn through their activities and things. They should be free to pursue their own interests and draw their own conclusions. But what do most of us do in the classroom with our curriculum? Oh, it is March. It is time to do wind and weather and rainbows and clouds. But maybe they're not interested in weather and rainbows and clouds and wind, okay? So we need to give them the freedom to pursue. I did put some references at the back, some resources at the back, and one that I didn't put on there is Lisa Murphy's on being child-centered. If you have not read any of Lisa Murphy's work, you need to. But specifically, her newest one is on being child-centered and what that means and getting rid of schedules and, you know, and that, you know, we know kids need routine, but do they know that 5 minutes, you only get 5 minutes to go to the bathroom or what have you? It's a great book to really free your mind. We have kind of gotten ourselves in this pattern of, well, you know, they said that we have to do it this way. You know, we've got these standards to meet. Well, sure, but guess what? All of those standards are going to be met through play. Every single last one of them. She is, and yes, Jill, I agree with you. I highly recommend Lisa's stuff because it's just the best. Yes, she is good as well. Heather Burnt-Santee. Friedrich Frobel, engaging with the world. There's that word engaging again. It's not passive. Do you see the word worksheet in here? Or, you know, we have to do the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s here? No, it's not there. Dewey, it occurs through experiences. Everyday experiences, and learning occurs by doing and acting in the world. And then Montessori, you know, development and learning occur through self-determination, and children learn first through the 5 senses. We do too. We did. Remember, we talked about that feeling, those squishies, you know, all of those things that set, yes, follow Lisa on Facebook and Instagram because she is, yes, she's been all over the place on Zoom. She's been doing so many Zoom things. It's so funny. And she does a lot of storybook reading on her porch, which is wonderful. Lisa's now in Florida with us, so I'm hoping to get to hook up with her soon. Piaget, children are active builders of their own knowledge. It's kind of like Field of Dreams. If you give them the materials, they will do the things, okay? Because they are little scientists, and we'll talk about that here in just a moment. And then, of course, this leads us to Howard Gardner and the many types of different intelligences that we know that children, you know, have. And so while we may look at some of these and think, well, that's not very playful, but really the reason why we know that children have these multiple intelligences is by observing the way they approach learning. And so we know, like, for example, in case you can't tell, I'm a very verbal linguistic person because I like to speak, I like to read, I do like to listen sometimes, and I do like to write, but I am also very interpersonal. Not only do I like to do all those things, but I like to do it with other people. You remember conduct grades? Any of you old enough to have conduct grades? My conduct grades were always C's and D's because Teresa talks way too much in class. But that's how I learn, y'all. That's how I learn. I talk to total strangers out in the world all the time, and I'm like, oh, hey, what are you doing there, and how's that work? And, oh, that's really interesting, and da-da-da-da. That is how I accumulate knowledge. So some children are just like that. So we need to respect all of those. And then think about this, you guys. Every single thing that we learn, let's say 99.9% of the time, is through the scientific process. I love this poster. We make observations, right? Like when we ate that glue, we were curious and we made an observation. We formed a hypothesis. Well, it's white, it's kind of gooey looking, maybe it's good, right? And then, of course, we experiment with it. And we might decide that it wasn't so good. And so I'm going to make a report about what I found out. I'm either going to spit it out, I'm going to tell people don't eat that, it tastes gross, whatever. But then guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn around and go, hey, you want some glue? Because that is how we learn. Because maybe just because I don't like it, maybe Tom does, right? So thinking about this, and every activity that we plan for children or the materials that we provide for them in the classroom, we need to remember that this is the process that they're going to go through. So let's say, and I just talked about this today on my Facebook Live about adding different materials to the block center. So I was talking about just, plastic Tupperware containers with lids. Because blocks can be anything, right? They don't have to be the wooden blocks. They don't have to be the purchased ones. They don't have to be Legos. Blocks are anything that you can stack and build with, right? So, yes, solo cups are the best, and the mini solo cups, and tongue depressors, and most people call them the little shot glasses, but we don't tell the kids those are shot glasses, but those little plastic cups like that. All of those things, but like I save all of my old dogs' soft food containers that come in Tupperware kind of things, and they have different colored lids, and I can just put them in my block center, and so we can experiment. If you just put them in there, you don't even have to tell children what to do with them. They'll just start doing things with them. Some of them might open them and put small blocks on the inside of them, or some of the people or the props or whatever, and others are going to take them and they're going to try to learn how to stack them or stack them in different ways. And then when I add styrofoam blocks and paper towel tubes and all of those things, then they just start putting things together and figuring out if they can make them work. That's what I do. If somebody sets something in front of me, I may not do the standard thing that everybody thinks I should do with it. I might do something different with it because I'm just kind of crazy and weird that way. But that's okay. That's my learning style, right? So speaking of Lisa Murphy, words of wisdom from the field from Lisa, and this was from her very first book, but this still holds true. Well, maybe not her first book, but her first book on play, is that children need to have these done in their classroom every day. So they need opportunities to create, to move, not sit in tables and chairs and desks, to sing like there's nobody watching, and to dance like nobody's watching, right? To discuss, let them talk. In circle time in my program, every child had, we had a timer, and they had, this time that they could say whatever they wanted to. I mean, like anything, the sky was the limit. We let them say whatever they wanted to say. So you've got the ball, you get to talk. What do you want to share with us today? And boy, you couldn't get them to stop. Like they didn't want to pass the timer or the ball because they wanted to talk, right? They just want to talk. So we would increase that as they got a little bit older and, got used to the platform and things like that. So we would increase the time that we let them talk. And we didn't respond. We respected the rules of We get to say anything. We don't laugh. We don't, make fun. It was just a way for them to be able to express. And most of the time, it went very well. There's always one, right, that's going to test you, and that's okay. You know how to handle that, right? But give them time to talk. And then carry on conversations with them. Some of my fondest memories of working in the classroom was carrying on conversations with the kids. Because when you do that and you have they have your undivided attention, it's amazing the stories they will tell you. And let me tell you guys, the last preschool group that I had, they're now in the 5th grade. And they call me and they FaceTime me. And, they'll say, well, I did this at school today. They're still talking to me, you guys. And I am so blessed by that, in that they feel like, even though I'm far away now because they're back in Indiana, they feel the need to still have time to talk with me and tell me what they've been doing. Or sometimes they'll just send me a message and say they miss me. And one time when they were down here, we had dinner and we were talking, and I said, I've been kind of tossing around doing a nature school. And both of the kids just said, we'll come, and they're in 5th grade, right? So they remember those experiences that they had with me. And let me tell you, as a person who was a program-based, center-based program person most of my career, the 5 years that I spent as a family home provider were the most fantastic years of my life. I learned so much in those 5 years than I ever did in the times that I was in center-based programs, because I really took the time to sit and do all of these things with the children. And so I observed the heck out of them. And of course we read all the time, and we played hard. And we all played together, even Uncle E, as they called my husband. So let's talk about Dr. Drew. Is anybody familiar? Anybody here from Florida at all familiar with Dr. Drew? Anybody? Dr. Drew is amazing. Dr. Drew is 20 years older than me. He's in his 80s. And every year at our FLACY conference, Dr. Drew has a playroom. And it is a room in which participants, conference attendees, can go at any time during the conference hours and go through this room and do whatever they want. He sets it up, he mans it, he talks to people about it. Dr. Drew has written 2 books about play. He may have written more than that. I have 2. And he talks about self-active play. And the biggest thing is that he's really done the research using some of that stuff that I just gave you like a really quick tour of, and come up with these things. And we are getting so close to the hour. So I'm going to kind of spin through these real quick so we can take an actual tour through Dr. Drew's playroom. So one of the things that he found is that play really does not have a purpose. And everybody's going to go, wait, what, huh? Yeah, it does. There is no value beyond simply playing for play's sake, okay? So you're going to say, what, huh? But there's no goal. It's like, okay, you play until you meet this goal, right? We don't do that. There's no outcome. There's no constraints, just the freedom to imagine whatever it is that you want to imagine. It's voluntary. It is chosen by the individual. So as adults, often we're like, oh, we can't do that. That's play. You know, why would we do that? No, never lose your desire to play, you guys. My husband, much to his chagrin, I was like, now that I'm here in Florida and we have good weather all the time, right? I have bought a tetherball set. I have bought yard games, yard dice, all of these things. Now I have to try to convince him to go out and play with me because I want to play. I love to be outside. I still love to be outside, which is one of the reasons why I moved here. Play is attractive. Not only is it attractive by, the visual senses of what something might look like, but we instantaneously look at something and we say, that'll be fun, right? Like the cow patties, like, hey, that might be fun. Or the first time you tried to throw eggs that weren't boiled, right, to each other, or water balloons, or what have you. This looks like fun. Let's do it. That's what goes through a kid's head. The players can participate over and over and over again, like us sliding down those dirt hills until we had no britches left. It has no sense of time. There's no boundaries, really. When you are truly playing, and this is true of children and adults, you get lost in that play, and there's just no meaning for time. Like, I don't want to quit. But how often do we make them quit playing? Like, stop playing. We're going to do this now. No, let them play. And if you get Lisa's book on being child-centered, the whole thing about scheduling is huge. So think about that. Children really need to have, at a minimum, you guys, a good hour, and I even say an hour and a half, in the morning and in the afternoon in a program for just free play. Everything else will kind of fall into line. It creates a loss of sense of self, not in a bad way. It means that in play, I can be anything I want to be. And it's spontaneous and it's improvisational. Children don't put boundaries on things normally until they get to that games with rules stage. But their only boundaries in those early years are their own imagination. And of course, it creates a desire to continue. What better way to teach attention span or support attention span, you can't really teach it, and help children learn how to sustain and be persistent by letting them do it. You want to build a block tower for the next 2 hours? You knock yourself out. Go ahead and do it. And no, we will not knock it over. We will leave it for you to have until you are done being proud of it or whatever. And then the properties of play. Play, we've talked about, I'm sure you guys have talked about in some of your courses, solitary play and parallel play and da. But really looking at play from a different lens. So it is action. It is a pattern of behavior. It is also interaction, which is a pattern of behavior with other people, right? So you have solitary play and you have, play with others, group play. Then it's an activity. So people are like, oh no, that's not an activity, that's play. No, it is an activity. It is a purposeful, even though it says we have no purpose, it is a purposeful activity, right? We have specific activities that, there are some boundaries for participation. Like you can't just, go out in the street and play with your cars. But it is an activity that they can engage in, and that's the most important activity that they should be engaging in. But it's also a disposition. So think about this. Do you have a sense of playfulness? Do you have, like I talked about when I go out in public and I see things and I'm like, I really want to play in that. One of the things they do here in our local town in the winter is we have a winter fest, and they actually haul in semis of snow because, of course, we don't get snow here, right? And it is so amazing to watch kids from afar playing in that snow, but then at the same time, I'm like, man, I really want to get in there and play with that snow. That is playfulness. We, hopefully all of us as teachers, have a disposition of playfulness. Experience. And look at this. The main word here is that we experience the act of play, what's happening, we're absorbed in it, and it is enjoyment for us. We are happiest when we are doing these play activities. And then the context. There's minimal adult interference, there's free choice, there's familiarity, And then types of play, just really quickly, subjective, like daydreams, fantasy, imagination, solitary, of those solo things when we just pursue our own solo interests, and children will do that. So do we as adults, right? Playful behaviors. So thinking about, you know, mischievous play, kind of as you would, playing tricks on other people and thinking it's hilarious, right? How many adults watch Impractical Jokers because they find it amusing and fun? That is kind of that type of behavior, right? Informal social play includes things like roughhousing. Now we've said, no, we can't do that because somebody's going to get hurt, but it is an important aspect of play. There is brain development research that says that children who have male figures in their lives that do this kind of play with them have better self-esteem and better learning outcomes by roughhousing. Put that in your hat and let that spin for a little bit. Vicarious audience play. I was very good at this. I am also a part-time actress, so I work in, or participate in local community theater because I grew up with musicals. I love musicals. I enacted them. And probably my most favorite thing is that I loved ice skating. Now, I am clumsy. I cannot ice skate very well, couldn't at all, hardly. But man, you put some socks on me and give me some waxed wooden floors, and I could do it. I was the bomb. I got gold medals for it. That's that type of play. When children participate in reenacting parades, playing school, all of those things. I bet you guys have a great mental image of me in my jammies and my slippers skating on wooden floors. Performance play, giving them musical instruments, singing and acting, giving them opportunities to do all of these things in the classroom. Celebration play, parties, events. It's important to, you know, incorporate those because it's a different kind of play. And then, of course, contests, our sports games, and then, of course, risky play. Now, there's a whole nother hour we could do on risky play, but we're not doing that tonight. So the outcomes, I'm just going to kind of go through these very quickly, but I want you to keep a hold of those questions we answered earlier, and then what brings you joy today. So keep holding on to those questions and that. It helps with focus, attention, concentration. It gives them the ability to learn to elaborate, using their imagination and their vision to go beyond what they already know. Remember, they are active builders of their own knowledge. Well, play gives them the ability to do that. They can organize ideas around concepts, ideals, and their own beliefs about things in the world. I started to put mind control here, and I thought, well, that probably would not be the best way to say that. So it does give them the opportunity to control their thinking, their thoughts. So through play activities, they learn how to separate undesirable thoughts to more of a controlling their focus on what they want to think about. Again, because by and large, children don't want to think bad thoughts. They want to think happy thoughts. So they learn then how to distinguish how to do that. They then learn too self-soothing, how to maintain peace or centering and mindfulness. Think about behavior in the classroom. Maybe it's because we're not letting them play enough. So let's take a tour of play through Dr. Drew's playroom. And I'm really not going to say a lot here, but as I go through the pictures, if you want to write something in the chat box, and I know we are going over time, Mary, please don't shoot me, because you know I like to talk. But think about this. Think about this as an adult. When you come into this and you see this table of stuff, what comes to your mind as an adult? And we're probably going to fall into two categories. There's one of them. Okay, so we've got our adult, messy, overwhelming, oh my gosh. And then we've got, oh, look at all of this stuff I can use to create and possibilities and what can I make? There's two categories of people, and kids are the same way. So we might want to not start with this, okay? But think about this, you guys. As we incorporate this in classrooms, you know, think about the possibilities. So when I see this, I'm on that side of, man, I wonder what I can make with all of this. Because I see so many things there that I just want to touch and feel and experiment with, right? All right, what about this? And remember, this is a room where adults, during conferences, you can see some of them are in dresses, we come in here and play. It is so cool. Styrofoam pieces. These are little boxes that things come in. I can't remember. But look at the colors. And again, we are the world's worst hoarders. Use the stuff that you're hoarding and put it to good use. Add this to your block area. Look at this. Is this great? And then, like, you know what? 10 minutes later, I might come into this room and I might see this look totally different, because as people come and go, they add to the play and they subtract from the play, right? I can only imagine the hotel folks when they saw these rooms too, by the way. Look at this. This is like one of my favorites. And I'm concentrating mostly here on this. What does this bring to mind? Remember, you're adults and you're going to go in here and you're not inhibited. Let's pretend you're not. A fort. Good one. I thought of campfire, but I couldn't start a fire, right? And you can see there's just different materials and scarves just all over the place, because we don't limit, in good play, we don't limit the use of all of these materials. And so, like, somebody might take the sticks from this area and take it to a totally different area in the room, and it was okay. Nobody yelled at them. Nobody said, put it back. There you go. There's music, Heather. And there's tin cans in there, so you can take the sticks and you can bang the tin cans. Make a tent? Absolutely. But see how this material that's just laying around there loose? It is there for creativity. This is the coolest thing ever. And you can make these. Dr. Drew has this as a purchased one, but you can make these. This is just a wind tunnel. It's upright, and so when the wind tunnel is on, then things go up, right? And it is, I mean, to watch adults play with these things was just super amazing in and of itself. And I loved this one because I like wind and I like all things related to that. So I spent a lot of time there with it myself. And then throughout the room, Dr. Drew has said, you know, here are the reminders, adults, of why we play. Here's what we do, why we do it, all of those things. And so he's got a link here. Here's Lisa Murphy's on being child-centered, the growth mindset book, Free to Learn, another excellent book. Yes, absolutely. So remembering, and in front of this are all of these tubs of other materials that you could use to create. And so he was giving the adults examples of what the children did with the materials, which I found totally fascinating. Because we were looking at, oh, look what the kids are doing with that. And then we were like going, can we do that? You know, it was just kind of this, you know, kind of Twilight Zone thing where it was the roles were reversed, and it was so cool. And my other favorite was the lights. Now, overheads, this is an old machine. You don't see these around very much anymore, but so cool. And just projecting, and so kids can manipulate. Yes, it should be. And this was just, you know, like you go to the Dollar Tree for every holiday and they have these felt cutouts of things. This was in October, so he had a lot of spider theme going on in here. And he just placed it on the overhead machine, and it's now projected up here. Or all of those things that you put in the light tables, right? I just purchased one of these flat light tables off of Amazon, and it was very inexpensive. Mine's not quite this big, but it's still the same thing. They've come a long way with making light sources for us to use. But again, look at this. There's just loose materials around everywhere. And there's also books, because we want the children to explore all of that. Yeah, that's what we were used to, right? The teacher stood up in front and wrote on them with grease pencils. That's what we got. But look at this. Some of these things, like I have some of these. These are actually little things that you put in like plant vases for decoration, but you can use them on the light table. I had a whole set of these for the kiddos for almost every season and all of that. Here's one of those plastic containers for where they were building the block area. Here's containers of just other things that could come out and be part of this light experience. And this is a cardboard box with a computer monitor screen inside, a blanket, and a piece of spider material over it, and it's projecting on, you know, different things in here. So you could actually sit inside the box and watch this. I mean, watch what's going on. It was really just a light show. It was so cool. I wanted to get in there so bad, but I couldn't. And so again, here's the book. So we don't even have to say, hey kids, let's read this book, and then we're going to go over here and play with lights. Really, what he's done is he's just put this here, and then here's the book. And so I'm over here playing with this, and I see the book, and I say, wonder what's inside this book. And then I start looking inside of the book, and then I start recreating maybe what I see in the book. Do you see that connection there? And again, you know, some of this is purchased material, but these are like bingo chips. They make bingo chips in different colors. How cool is that? So you don't have to purchase a lot of things. Magnetiles, if you've got an Aldi store, they start carrying those every once in a while, and they are great for light tables. And this is a super cool, expensive light table. It's on my bucket list. I want to get one. But this is another one of my favorites, you guys. So here is a artist, what do you call these, the little statue things where you can draw bodies with? He's got a flashlight taped to his hand, and he is shining the light on these things that are just made out of cellophane and construction paper and shining the light on it. So this then connects a wholly different thing because the person here is holding this flashlight, right? And then you can see there's just a flashlight set up here leaning on this, shining through one of those felt things from the Dollar Tree. This was amazing to me, and I've done a lot of things with a light table, but he took me to a whole another level with this. I was like, oh my gosh, I did not even think about doing any of this. White umbrella, rope lights, netting, and again, there's a light shining through here on some of those pieces that he's created there. How cool is that? And so you can see it here now on the other side. And look how different it looks over here than what it looks like over here. And it's a white umbrella, you guys. A white umbrella. You can get those cheap. All right, so what do you do as joyful teachers then? Because if you're not joyful, you're not going to be teaching joyfully. So you have to go back to that inner kid and that inner person and remember all of those things that brought you joy. When you play with the children, you have a better understanding then of what that does for the children, and you can improve your practices. You just got to start playing with them, you guys. Dig in. I have some great pictures. I wish I would have put them in here when we did our earthworm unit with my preschool. We were all out there digging in the dirt, sitting in the dirt. I mean, it was great. When children and teachers are involved in self-active play together, both have control, right? So that's a huge issue with children. Children need to have control because if they aren't allowed control, then that's again where those behaviors are going to come in. And so when they know that they have the ability or the right or the permission to explore and discover those materials, then you're going to get better behavior out of the kiddos. The adult players must engage with those open-ended materials with the children using their own 5 senses and their whole being in order to fully understand the power and wisdom of play. I could end with this. I mean, because this is such a powerful statement. In order for you to understand the joy of play again and get those memories back and think of those things that bring you joy, then you will start seeing a total difference in your classroom and in the learning of your children. You both must allow yourselves to be self-directed. Follow your interests, okay? Many times I would come in and I would say, you know, guys, I saw this today and I thought maybe you guys might want to learn about it too. And if they said yes, then that's where we went. If they said no, then I said, okay, we'll table that for another time, right? And then remembering the brain connection, play, engaging those 5 senses, that's an actual biological function in the brain. And then it focuses us and allows us to do that experimentation and that exploring. And we connect, you know, play connects people with themselves, with one another, by common interests, and how to proceed together. And I think this is so cool that we're doing this on Work Together Wednesday, because that's what it's all about. If we don't have joyful teachers, we're not going to have joyful children learning in joyful engagement experiences. So remember those questions. When you go back to your classroom and you think about the things that you're going to implement, when Johnny eats the glue, don't get hysterical because he's not going to die, right? I didn't. Anybody else that ate anything didn't, right? So rethink. It really means that you have to come outside of this box that we've been put in, and we've done it to ourselves, and remembering what it was like to play and to be joyful in doing it. And remember, what brings you joy today? Because 9 times out of 10, something in that might be something that the kids will also find joy with as well. So, play resources. Oh yeah, Susan, yeah, when you grow up on a farm, you eat a lot of things. So, Dr. Drew's 2 books are right here. Self-Active Play, From Play to Practice. This was a NACE membership book, I think, not too long ago. Serious Fun, How Guided Play Extends Children's Learning. So there is still a way to, you know, get the standards in and meeting criteria, and that it's all there. Here's how you do it, and it is based on brain science. And then Purposeful Play is a great book, and of course Lisa's book on play, and then this is another NACE book on play for infants and toddlers specifically. And then we are now at the end. I'm sorry we went over. It always happens to me. But really, guys, this is just the beginning. So take this very short presentation. Mary, if anybody wants the PowerPoint, I can certainly send it to you and you can send it out. Take these just very simple concepts from those books and go out and have some fun and have some joy.
Loved this. Yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to share a PDF of this
Sure.
PowerPoint with them if you're willing to send it my way.
I will.
That would be wonderful. and really inspiring. I mean, just seeing those pictures just gets me all like excited. Like I want
Right?
to go out and start my own program and
Right?
and do it. It happens every time. So thank you very much for this, and I hope it inspired you all to go back to your classrooms, your group settings, your home child care tomorrow, and figure out how you can make this a reality. If you're not already doing it, if you are already doing these things, pat yourself on the back and figure out a way to share what you're doing with others so that you can spread the inspiration around. So thank you so much. Here, you can stop sharing if you want to too. Well, you've got your sign up, so leave that up for now. But thank you very much. Much appreciated. And do give us a little bit of time just in case, you know, that glitch is still existing for the certificate to get sent out. We hope it'll be done by Friday or sent out to y'all by Friday, end of the day Friday, but just in case, give us a couple extra days. It will get to you. And if by sometime next week you still don't have it, then you can reach out to me and I will look into it. So thank you all so very much, everyone, and thank you, Dr. McKay, for sharing your passion. You can definitely hear it and feel it. And
I know. You should have seen all my body movements. I was really emphasizing things with my hands.
That's awesome. So all your stuffed animals and your dogs can see you.
Right? Right, exactly. My baby Yoda right now.
There you go. There you go.
And my Rasmussen.
Awesome. Oh, you've got a Rasmussen? Oh, that's
I do.
Mine's at the at my office that I haven't been to in 2 years, so I think I probably need to go grab that. Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful remainder of your Week of the Young Child. Don't forget to follow NACY on social media. Check out their website for great ideas and activities, and check out you know, Rasmussen's website and social media too while you're there. And thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.